Hello everyone, welcome to Seppuku Squadron. I probably should have chosen a more politically correct name. Not starting any more podcasts with that opening. So, hi there? The original Ghost in the Shell movie gets talked about to death on YouTube, so I'm here to discuss the 2017 American film, which also gets talked to death. I will refer to the original movie when indicating where this film perhaps went wrong in its steps to success, both critically and financially. I'm not just going to review the movie with my thoughts on it, but give background on different responses from different types of audiences. I will also give ideas for how the movie could have been improved and made more of that sweet, sweet money. Don't get me wrong, this is in no way a bad film. It just pales in comparison to its predecessors. I had quite a good time while watching it, but I think your amount of exposure to the franchise certainly will affect your viewing experience. Number 1. The audience. Must suck to have an audience that hates you. The reason comic book movies have always traditionally done well is because of the fan base that supports it, spreading the good word around so the general public sees the movie. See, that's how Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, Deadpool, and Doctor Strange have been huge successes despite having so little name recognition. The comic community hypes up the film and supports it until the release, and then the creators essentially thank the fans at comic conventions.
The Galaxy Volume 2 is born, and I love you guys so much. And especially you guys, all of you, you know who you are, who stayed out there in the heat, in the line.
The anime fan base? A completely different story. The second the photo of Scarlett Johansson as the Major was released, everyone went into a frenzy of racism accusations and controversy. Wow. Such nice people. I remember at the time lots of anime fans online saying they would boycott the film because it's racist. You know that refusing to see a film because of the race of the lead actress is kind of racist in itself? People react more to a piece of fiction than to actual racism that is actually hurting real people in the real world. Of course, most more reasonable people were boycotting the film not because of race-related issues, but because they didn't like what they were seeing in the trailers. It seemed to them like these people were missing the whole point of Ghost in the Shell. Were these people right? Or did the movie prove itself otherwise? Stay tuned to find out the answer. If I remember to tie this up later on. I'm not a huge fan of the source material myself, but I like it, and I admire the creator's work. I've only read the manga and watched the original movie, the latter, which this film is most in line with. I haven't watched Innocence or the Standalone Complex, but since those aren't primarily used as the source for this movie, I think I'm qualified enough to discuss this. Number 2. The Hollywood. I've been saying since the beginning that anime fans should just calm down whenever a Western remake is made, because it's being made by otakus just like you. Rupert Sanders is easily no exception. This guy is a huge Ghost in the Shell fan, and I think without his love for the project, this could have turned out much worse. While I am convinced on his passion, I am hesitant on his skills as a director. He does work with his actors well, but his camera work could be better, especially during action scenes. Despite this, I certainly prefer flaws resulting from too much love rather than not enough care. Every time he talks about his movie, it's always in relation to the original movie and manga. He has clear respect for the source material, and it's a respect I want to see in more directors out there. When I was watching, I thought the DreamWorks logo was for a trailer, but nope. That was for the movie. DreamWorks made this. Can't wait for Pixar to make Akira. DreamWorks acquired the rights for Ghost in the Shell in 2008, and they cycled through different writers such as Jamie Moss, later Kalogridis, William Wheeler, Jonathan Herman, and Aaron Kruger, but with only Moss, Wheeler, and Kruger credited. I think the film's greatest weakness is its scripts, and the way the writers were replaced over and over with so many people working on one script is probably the culprit. The vast majority of this film was filmed in Wellington, New Zealand. Yes! NZ! That's almost Australia! Filming in Wellington was cheaper than Hong Kong or Tokyo would have been, though they did do some filming in the Yau Ma Tei and Jordan areas of Hong Kong. Yau Ma Tei is rated 5 out of 5 in difficulty to pronounce on howtopronounce.com. I'd give it like a 3. The sets were extremely practical. All close-up features were built physically, and the backgrounds are just futuristic versions of the real buildings in the area. Even Batau's eyes are practical. How did they do that? When I watched it, I assumed that filming this would have been a nightmare. Actors who worked on The Hobbit and the Star Wars prequels didn't enjoy being in green and blue rooms for the majority of the filming process. But Ghost in the Shell is filmed on real streets, in real buildings, with just the occasional green screen. It is truly impressive, and it makes me extremely happy. But did this hard work pay off? Not financially. This movie was projected to have an opening of $25 million in the United States, but opened up at $19 million, placing itself at third in the box office, under Beauty and the Beast and Boss Baby, which is also made by DreamWorks, which makes me wonder, why did you ruin the box office opportunity for your own movie? And just the fact that anyone saw Boss Baby at all makes me really lose my faith in moviegoers. At the end of its run, it climbed to $162.2 million for a $110 million budget, which sounds good, right? They made $52.2 million, right? The 110 is just for production and doesn't include advertising and distribution costs. In total, this movie cost $220 million and lost almost 60, which is a shame because for all my problems with the film, it didn't deserve this. Maybe if they released it at a better time, it would have had more success. If maybe supporting actors in the film had a little more popularity, more of an audience could have been mustered. March was a really crowded month this year, with Ghost in the Shell having to compete with the likes of Logan, Kong, Beauty and the Beast, Lego Batman. By the way, unless you're Marvel or Star Wars, don't compete with anything that has Batman in the title. But maybe this would have all turned out okay if the movie was a critical success? Whoops, mucked that one up too. This movie has a 46% score on Rotten Tomatoes, with an average score of 5.6 out of 10, and an audience score of 61% with an average of 6.9 out of 10. I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes as a way to judge the quality of a movie, but it's a good way to judge the reception of a movie. And people thought it was okay. I've heard Ghost in the Shell fans say they enjoyed the movie more because of their familiarity to this world. But I've also heard some say they enjoyed it less because it wasn't enough like the Ghost in the Shell that they know. I don't get the point in just making it again. I for one am glad they took an original route. In fact, all of this would follow my checklist on how to adapt Ghost in the Shell. Have an original plot with the same characters? Check. Include scenes from the anime? Check. Have a clear theme? Check. Unfortunately, it's a pretty stupid theme. I'll talk about that later. But for now, into the review. Number 3. The characters. When I saw this with a couple of my friends, neither of them knew what the characters' names were, which is not a good sign. They knew Major Motoko. You can say Motoko. It's fine. But that's it. It's always important to repeat names over and over again, and to really just cement who everyone is so the audience doesn't have to go and look it up on IMDb later on. Like I said before, people who had already seen either the original anime, watched the series, or played one of the games would have had an easier time getting involved with the characters because they already knew them. Which is a good thing. If this is the result, clearly the characters are accurate to their original counterparts. And I think that's because of Rupert Sanders' direction. Spoilers. 3, 2, 1, okay. Scarlett Johansson is playing Major Mira Killian, not Motoko Kusanagi, in a bizarre twist I certainly did not see coming. But in a way, she still is Motoko? I thought this was a very clever way of avoiding all the controversy, even though they didn't avoid any controversy, because they wanted this to be revealed in the movie. God, don't they know that all controversy just resolves itself magically as soon as the movie is released? See, everyone got a little bit upset at Matt Damon being casted as a Chinese guy in The Great Wall. I say a little bit upset because even crazy internet people know that The Great Wall is not worth wasting any anger on. But after the movie came out, we learned he was a traveller from, I want to say Scotland? I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, were you surprised? I wasn't. Here though I was. When she said her name for the first time, I thought I misheard it. But they said it again, and I was like, oh, why didn't they just say that? Because they aren't casting a white actress as a woman named Motoko Kusanagi. This could have saved everything. But there's a twist. She actually was Motoko Kusanagi before her accident, which caused her to lose her memories of her past life. See, I think this is a clever way of maneuvering around the situation, except bit late to relax people once the movie is already out. Even if her name was Motoko, for the whole movie I still wouldn't have cared. I have Asian friends with both Western first and last names, so why can't there be the other way around? Japan's population is 99% whatever, yeah, I get it, but it's set in the future, in a world with invisible cyborg women and robot spider geishas. It's not that much of a stretch of the imagination. Everyone speaks English, yet everything is written in Japanese. I just accept those things so I can get on with the story. Hang on, back to the Major. I was worried about Scarlett leading up to this movie, not just because of the whitewashing deal, but because her last leading role was in Lucy, which that movie makes no sense, by the way. She was criticized because her character acted barely human, erasing the stakes by making it feel as if she was never in danger, because she was never scared. She acted like a robot. So I don't think it was the best choice on her part for her next role to actually be a robot, but she proved me wrong. I think Scarlett Johansson gives this role as much emotion as she can, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Margot Robbie was being considered for the role at first, but she instead went and did Suicide Squad. I'm not sure if I would have preferred her being Ghost in the Shell with someone actually capable playing Harley Quinn, or if I'm fine the way things turned out. Best case scenario is Margot Robbie staying away from my movies. Look, this has been said before, but Scarlett was only casted because she's really the only actress capable of playing this role properly and bringing in box office money, which is why it confuses me how badly this film performed when it came to cha-ching. This is why I think another popular actor in addition to Scarlett should have boosted this movie's cred, and just would have helped out on the money-making front. ScarJo was semi-harassed by anime fans online, which is really disappointing. There's an interview where she is asked about the controversy surrounding her casting, and she's almost brought to tears. And the comment section of that video is cancer. People hating her with no justification other than her looks. I'll link the video in the description so you can watch it for yourself. She even says in the interview, in the nicest way she can, that if you would just watch the movie, you would learn she's not trying to play the role of another race. I don't understand the motivation for this hate. I'm not 100% on board with the casting of the Death Note movie, but I'm not gonna send hate messages to the actors. I understand the cast choices aren't for any race-related reasons, but because the story is set in the United States and a predominantly white cast makes sense. I may not like it, but that doesn't mean I have anything personal against the people making the film. Bato is played by Pilou Asbæk, and I love this guy's performance. I can't lie to anyone. When I read the manga, I read Bato's dialogue in an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice. Any trouble and you're dead meat. Come out with both hands up, asshole. I wasn't expecting him to have that voice in either the anime or the movie, and Pilou Asbæk fit into the role quite quickly for me. Despite his race, his name is still Bato, but unlike Major, there is no explanation for it. Again, doesn't really bother me. He gets Bato spot on, the way he's always looking out for Major. The way she doesn't care about being naked, but he tries to clothe her anyway. He has more human parts than her, so in turn, he behaves more human-like. Of course, I don't know the character as well as a lot of other people would, but from what I can see, he does an excellent job. I love the part where he sends Major to feed his dogs instead of going himself, because he's afraid he'll scare them with his new eyes. He's sympathetic and kind, but will still get the job done in the field. Now our characters drop off a cliff. Nearly everyone else in this movie is stupid and boring. Luckily though, we don't spend that much time with them. So Aramaki, or Ape Face as they call him in the manga, is played by Takeshi Kitano, and he just confuses me. Everyone speaks English to him, yet he speaks to everyone else in Japanese with English subtitles. Apparently this is because Kitano didn't want to learn English for the role. Okay then. Well, fair enough. Just get a different actor, I say. I'm not at the top of my game when it comes to Japanese actors, so maybe it was a good choice, because his presence alone sold lots of tickets. But did it? This movie made $3 million in Japan, which is apparently really good. Doesn't sound that good, but apparently it is. Japan's population is about a third of America's, so if it did really well in Japan, shouldn't it be above 1/3 of America's box office? 1/3 of 19 is 6.3, so it's less than half of that. In fact, Australia made 1.7 million on that weekend, and we're barely a fifth of Japan's population. God, Japan, get your stuff together. Nah, probably sucks to watch a movie in another language. I mean, I do it all the time. Doesn't suck that much, actually. $3 million in Japan is actually pretty good though, compared to most movies, but compared to blockbusters, La La Land, Kong, Skull Island, and Moana all did better. So did SAO, The Ordinal Scale. How? So it looks like Ghost in the Shell did fine in Japan. I wouldn't say beloved, Polygon.com, but fine. Where even was I? Japanese audiences said that they didn't like Takeshi Kitano in this movie and wished they gave him subtitles like they did with everyone else. They apparently can't understand him, which is funny actually, because that means no one in the world can understand him. So I don't know how Major and Bato did. He sounds like the Japanese equivalent of Vin Diesel. He had one cool moment where he used his briefcase as a shield and killed a bunch of dudes. It was cool, but that's it. That's all there is to him. Shin Han is Togusa. He's in the movie barely a minute. He has like 2 lines. Dr. Wowlet? Welle? Quellet? I don't know. Played by Juliette Binoche. Binoche. She's a doctor, and she does doctor stuff on Motoko. I don't know. I think that's it. Okay, Cutter. Played by Peter Ferdinando. He's clearly evil, but not the main villain. I'm just gonna skip everybody else, who even cares? Kyuzei, the real main villain guy. Now the Puppet Master was the villain of the original, and I thought he was going to be the villain of this. He wasn't. Instead, we have Kyuzei, who's kind of the Puppet Master, but he isn't? He's a failed experiment in the same thingo as Motoko, and he tries to tell her, "They stole your memories, girl." So wait, back to Cutter then. He is the real villain after all? I'm so confused. I should probably watch this movie again before I get into number 4, the plot. So compared to the original, this plot is pretty complicated. In the original anime, Motoko Kusanagi saves the day at a business negotiation, then they go to Hong Kong and fight these dudes, then they come across the Puppet Master AI on the road, then he escapes, and they chase him, then catch him, then Motoko merges her consciousness with him. In this remake, some scientists put a ghost in a shell. 1 year later, that ghost shell is working for the government and saves the day at a business meeting. They take one of the geishas and do a deep dive into it. A deep dive. Did you hear me say deep dive? They say deep dive so many times in this movie and I have no idea why. With the information from the deep dive, they go to a bar and have a shootout. Underneath the bar, Major finds Kyuzei, who tells her, "They stole your memories, girl." She's not sure what to think, but she and Batao escape after the explosion. Bato gets some sweet new eyes. Then Kyuzei goes on a murder spree and tries to kill Dr. Wowlet, I don't know, by hijacking a garbage man and driving him into her car, but fails. Then Major fights the garbage man and they catch him, then learn his memories are false, then he kills himself. They trace the signal to a location place where they meet Kyuzei again and he tells Major, "They stole your memories, girl." It was that before. Major goes to Wowlet and is sad and angry and wants the truth. Then rewind. Cutter was at the start briefly and he said evil stuff while Major was being built. Fast forward. Cutter wants Major dead, so he gets Owlet to kill her, but she doesn't and instead lets Major escape. Cutter kills Owlet and chases after Major, but the rest of Section 9 save her. She meets up with her mum, they have a get-together, then Spider Tank the end. Look, I'm assuming you've already seen it. The trailers give away everything anyway. So after Bato gets his new eyes, there's a joke. Major says, "How many fingers am I holding up?" And she sticks up the middle finger. It was really funny, actually. And for that scene, she acts more in line with Major's character in the manga rather than the anime, but that's not saying Scarlett Johansson doesn't make the role her own. I think a few more jokes would have gone well, not from the Major herself, but maybe from a comic relief character, just to give some life to this quite serious and kind of generic story. So this plot follows your usual betrayed super soldier plot. I think the plot is alright, but with a bit more originality to it, it could have been something special. Ghost in the Shell stories are usually like a secret police spy thriller kind of thing. If you cut out all the betrayal and going rogue, the plot would have been simpler and easier to understand. Also, if you don't pay close attention, you can get lost, and they don't make it 100% clear what's happening all the time. If you just kept it as a mystery spy thriller with the villain as a terrorist of some sort, because they are an anti-terrorist unit after all, the movie would have been easier to digest. Then at the end you can make it all personal, for the feels, you know? The villain could kill Bartow or something. Or Major. You can keep a lot of the same scenes, but just change the ending and the scenarios that take them there. Also, the villain needs to be relevant to the themes of the movie somehow. Have a differing view from the protagonist. This all relates to number 5, the themes. Alright, now we're really getting into the nitty gritty meat of this. Who really cares about anything else? The real point of Ghost in the Shell is the themes. The anime has so much packed into it, you can discuss all its themes and hidden messages forever, and that's extremely impressive considering its 1 hour and 22 minute runtime, with 5 of those minutes as credits. So I find it confusing that this movie is barely able to convey one theme that doesn't make sense in 1 hour and 46 minutes. The original took its time, and it was 24 minutes shorter. Ghost in the Shell is extremely influential in both the sci-fi and action genres. Without the original anime, we wouldn't have The Matrix. Without The Matrix, we wouldn't have many of the action movies that came after it. So it's disappointing to see one of the fathers of science fiction struggle to be a science fiction movie. Sure, it has the futuristic cityscape, robots, and cool looking cars, but that's not all there is to it. The point of sci-fi is to ask questions, provoke thought from the audience. The films are a way of testing certain technologies and watch how it works in the hands of human beings. The point of science fiction is to ask questions, not to give answers. So why the hell does Scarlett give an internal monologue at the end, saying how she found her answer to a question that's not even sci-fi related? The question we ask in this movie is, what defines a human? Their memories or their actions? Does it already sound kinda dumb? At the end of the movie, they say that humans are defined by their actions, not memories. But this just brings up more questions. Because aren't our actions determined by our memories? Aren't past experiences what are responsible for our choices made in the present? It's a process the human brain undergoes all the time. Scientists call it learning. So in a way, our memories do define who we are. We even see this in the movie with the garbage man, who becomes a killer when Cusey implants false memories into him. The movie went out of its own way to disagree with itself, which would be fine had they not provided a definitive answer at the end. And still, Major decides to visit her mother and in a way reconnect with her past life, also going back on the movie's own themes. While watching, all I could think of was, "It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me," from Batman Begins. Now this theme isn't the best, so I don't know why they copied it, but at least it has some depth, makes sense and is consistent. When they say, "who I am underneath," in the movie, they in a literal sense talking about Batman's mask and the identity that lies underneath that. However, from a figurative angle, they are referring to the whole, "I'm a good person on the inside" kind of thing. This theme turns that mentality on its head by saying it doesn't matter who you are on the inside because it's what's on the outside that is affecting other people. It's what's on the outside that's making a difference. What is on the outside is your actions, and your true self doesn't matter if your actions say otherwise. It also links with the idea that a billionaire isn't the type of hero figure you would initially expect to be under the mask of Batman. But see, in Ghost in the Shell, the whole "we aren't defined by our memories but by our actions" doesn't quite work out. Also, who is this message directed at? Amnesia victims? Why? There can't possibly be enough of them out there to fulfill this $60 million you lost. Also, this theme is almost the opposite message compared to that of the originals. The original has a close focus on the future, while this remake seems to focus on the past. The original is about machines and humanity coming together to create something better and take a step forward in evolution. In the original, everything was done with subtlety, but in this, every time something happens, everyone has a philosophical discussion about it. The daughter and the wife story isn't real. the victim's memories were changed, turning him into a killer. Our memories can influence the way we act, but if we have no memories to draw from, then our actions are only determined by what's in our hearts. Major, are you high? The original manga brought a lot of focus to the components that make up a human physically. If you replace the body parts of a human with robot ones, at what point does it stop being a human? How does artificial intelligence play into this? I was surprised not to see this one in the film, as I find this one to be the most interesting, and I think it's the easiest of all of Ghost in the Shell's themes to play with. It's relatively uncomplicated, and there are many different angles to tackle this at. They wanted to dumb the film down for the masses, so why not use this theme? I think it's pretty easy to understand. Both the anime and the manga show us that Major's body isn't special. It's not custom made, in fact, many people use it, but just give it different hairstyles. She even sees a woman in a cafe who is her. She's using the same shell. Then she sees mannequins in a store window with the exact same body as her. The movie abandons this completely and makes her a one-of-a-kind special person. When she is on the boat, she could just chill in the nude in her robot body, followed by Bato covering her with his jacket. More significance could be drawn to this scene if she refuses and says she doesn't care. Everyone sees her body in store windows anyway, so what's the point in covering it? This would also be an interesting moment in the two characters' relationship. Also, seeing Major angry in this scene, after seeing her be mostly static for the majority of the film, would be a huge breath of fresh air. The most interesting scene, maybe, with the Major was where she hires a human prostitute, I think? Or some really nice lady, and she just wants to feel her. To feel a human. It's interesting, it develops character, it plays into the themes, and it's thought-provoking. There should be more scenes like this. Not exactly like this, but with these intentions. Number 6. The action. The action is shot kinda poorly. Usually when I say this, I mean the action is hard to follow. Here the action is easy to follow. The part that bothers me is the action isn't very exciting. There are lots of action scenes, but some of them are kinda boring. The ideas at play behind these action scenes are interesting. Hand-to-hand combat? I dig it. Gunfight? I dig it. I think if you lifted the quality of the action scenes, the masses would have enjoyed it more, recommended it around, and you would have more cash in that bank. Let's take the opening scene for example. So we have Major on the rooftop, looking over her city. We see the cool effects at play, it's all good. But here's an idea. You know how Star Wars movies start off with a shot of something and then reveal something else? In A New Hope, it has the stars. We sit in a peaceful place for a second, then a giant spaceship flies over the camera. In The Force Awakens, we see a planet, then a shadow cover it, then the shadow keeps getting bigger until we see that shadow is a Star Destroyer. In Rogue One, we see these lines on a black background, but then the next shots reveal them to be the rings of a planet. In the Ghost in the Shell anime, we see the green computerized cityscape that becomes the one Motoko is crouching in when a helicopter flies over it. I think you can have a more interesting introduction to this scene than just a crane shot over a building. You can use the green computer cityscape if you want, but I think you're better off trying something new. Then she can stand at the rooftop, hear all the voices, and we continue in the same way. The geishas are walking around serving tea, the business guys are talking about cyber enhancement. One guy is trying to sell it to another guy, but guy number 2 is concerned about the risk of losing individuality, which would make more sense if you didn't change the whole Major isn't special theme from earlier. Anyway, then Major uses her magic sci-fi goggles to be able to see the whole scenario in the building. Then the violence starts. 6 dudes walk into the building and take out 2 waiters. Then
2 minutes out, Major.
Too long. I'm going.
Scarlet strips down into an M-rated robot exosuit. The guy's briefcase turns into an Uzi. Geishas take everybody hostage and everything's going bad. Then Major falls off the rooftop, and here we start changing things around. In Deadpool, when Deadpool sees the guys in the cars driving underneath him, he drops off the edge of the highway. When he falls off the edge, he falls at pace. There is a serious speed and weight to him. In this movie, it's like gravity isn't working properly. She falls so slowly. When she drops, she should drop with force. Okay, let's take a step back for a second. There's an anime trope the Wachowskis did a spin on in The Matrix. A swordsman or woman will slash up their opponent, put their sword away, there's a second of silence, then the blood spurts out and the enemy dies. The spin the Wachowskis did is a second of silence right before the action. For example, the security guard asks to see Neo's jacket. Neo opens the jacket, there's a second of silence, and then the action starts. In this scene, the gunman and the geishas should have taken the businessman hostage and then waited for a second. Everything is silent, then BAM! Major smashes through the window shooting everyone. She runs up the walls and kills the bad guys. It's not as good with only audio, but you get the point. Here's the scene from the film. Here's my re-edit with the extra pause. I know my editing isn't the best, you'd know just from listening, but my point still stands. With that extra second of suspense, waiting for the action to start, it's more satisfying when it finally comes, and it makes you more invested and interested in what's happening. In the anime, the action is all about long build-up before finally releasing. The action is about setting the stage first, building up the tension, before when the climax comes, you know what I mean. I think this pause is a way of the movie going back to its anime roots. Another scene I think could use some work is the car crash scene, followed by the gunfight on the road. When the garbage truck makes impact on the car with the people in it, we see the crash from inside the car, and the impact is kind of underwhelming for that reason. Same deal with the build-up. I don't think Rupert Sanders gets this whole suspense thing. So, what do you want out of the crash? Because depending what you want, you film and edit it differently. Do you want the crash to be a whoa, so cool moment? Do you want the crash to shock people? Do you want people anticipating the crash, faking out, then doing the crash for real? If you want the crash to look cool, show us the crash from the outside, film it in slow motion, add over the top explosions into it. I'm guessing you don't want that effect though. Do you want the crash to shock people? The garbage truck could collide with the car while someone speaking is in mid-sentence. If you want to fake out, just show the truck heading towards the car, but then it stops because, wrong garbage truck. Then the real truck comes and wipes out the car. There are so many alternatives, and you chose the worst one. Here's how I would do it. I would have the conversation in the car, have constant alternating shots, keep going back to the garbage truck for the first half of the scene, but stop going back to it for the second half. We then go to a helicopter view shot and stay there with the conversation still going in the background. We follow the car for a few seconds, then the garbage truck comes out of nowhere from the side of the frame at top speed and completely sideswipes the car while one of the characters is in mid-sentence. Then the blood is pumping. The action continues with its own momentum. The behind the scenes for this scene looks better than in the movie because it just shows us the garbage truck smashing into a car from a good distance without cutting away. Looks really cool, but they don't let us see it in the film. Last scene is the taser stick one. Major gets attacked by guys with taser sticks and we can't see what the hell is happening. I know that's the point, but it'd be cool to see them fight with the sticks in the dark, where all you can see is the light from the electricity, before Major loses and everything turns chaotic, bright lights. I know that action in Ghost in the Shell isn't supposed to be cool, because it should be symbolic and meaningful to the themes, but with the audience you're looking at, a lot of them aren't going to be paying attention to the subtlety and messages, and they just came for a good sci-fi action movie, so just give it to them. It's not hurting anyone to make the action cooler, right? As long as the action can be done well without losing focus on what's important, like the characters, story and themes, everything will be A-okay. I only talked about the action I had problems with, and all that was only small parts of the action that I felt were lacking. But there are some solid action scenes here, like where Major fights the garbage man in the water while she's invisible, when she fights the spider tank. The spider tank was my favourite scene. And then she and Barto are escaping from the bar. I guess Barto stands in the open and magically doesn't get hit by any bullets in that scene, but it's still good action. Usually when I criticize action, it's because of quick cuts and shaky cam and terrible choreography. This movie has none of those problems. The cameras are still in positions where we can see everything clearly, and they film for the right amount of time. The choreography and stunts are great, and they didn't rely too much on CGI. You can keep all the action the same, it's just the lead up to the action and building suspense that I would improve on. Only so when the action gets here, it's more exciting. Number 7. The visual style. This movie looks gorgeous. Its visuals are great to look at. It might have been cooler to see this city more at nighttime than day, but that's not a criticism. It's just me wanting more from the movie. In regards to the cityscape, it doesn't quite match the architecture seen in previous versions of Ghost in the Shell. I don't mind this. I think the giant hologram people, moving lines on the road, the visual style in general is really creative. But was it really necessary? I'm only saying this because I'm on your side, guys. Did you have to spend all that special effects money? If you kept the style more in line with the original, probably would have been cheaper and pleased more anime fans. Not all of them, but the more of the fan base you get on your side, the better. The visual spectacle of the city gets sacrificed for the stacked buildings and run-down, high-density housing, so during the iconic scenes, like Invisible Major vs the Garbage Man, it looks more like the original anime. So why wasn't this done for the whole runtime? We don't know right now, but the buildings and special effects may age poorly, and perhaps this saved money would have also extended the life of the film. Or maybe I'm wrong, and the more iconic scenes were more expensive because the set designs were more specific. I don't know, and sometimes in life, you just don't know things. The costume designs are pulled right from the source material. In the movie, they change it from Major's naked robot body to a skin-tight suit that allows her to turn invisible. I think this was a good choice, because you don't want to limit your audience with an MA rating. Barto's eyes look incredible, and I said at the beginning, those are real. The skeleton you see at the start of the movie that gets painted in white is a real skeleton they built. I know it looks fake, but it's real. When the skeleton rises through the paint, they wanted there to be no drips coming off it, so they had a pre-painted skeleton, and they filmed it being dipped into the paint, and then reversed the footage. The way the villains look, the weapons, the vehicles, the buildings, the interior design, the combination of Japanese and Western architecture is very original and beautiful. You know, we haven't had a cyberpunk movie in some time. It looks good. We should have more of these. Getting kinda sick of all my cyberpunk being in animation and comics. Because superhero movies are doing so well right now, it could be a good idea to make a Batman Beyond film, or maybe a Spider-Man 2099. I really like the cyberpunk look, and I think these studios have the budget to make it work. Back to Ghost in the Shell. Going into the movie, I assumed the giant advertisements would be obnoxious and irrelevant to the story, with the visual effects department trying too hard. But they're ads for cyber enhancement, and that gives them a role in the story. When directors try to be visually impressive, many of them forget about the more important aspects. You know, style over substance. But here it seems everything was kept in check. Now, I need to address something that gets discussed a little bit. After the casting of a white actress playing a supposedly Asian character, this question was frequently brought up. Do anime characters look white? Japanese people who were asked about Scarlett Johansson's casting had no problems with changing the race. In fact, some of them said Caucasians look more like anime characters because of the varying eye and hair colors. But what do I think? I think that anime characters barely look human, and that's a deliberate stylistic choice. The huge eyes, different coloured hair, and large heads are all for the sake of allowing the characters to express emotion with the visuals alone. Some anime characters are supposed to be European, such as the majority of the casts of Attack on Titan and Full Metal Alchemist, but some are meant to be Japanese, such as Bleach and Death Note. If the race is specified, or the Japanese culture plays an important part in the themes in the story, I think it should be respected. If it is unspecified in the source material, like One Punch Man or Ghost in the Shell, I say just cast anyone who looks the part. In fact, all this talk about race is missing the entire point of Ghost in the Shell, because Major isn't white or Asian. She's a robot. She doesn't belong to a race because she isn't even human. Or is she? This is the question. This is the point. It's these questions, not those ones. You people better start supporting these movies, because if you do, we'll get more of them. If these movies get loved by the masses, they could overthrow superheroes in the box office. They could come into the mainstream, and maybe I won't be seen as a creep. I won't be seen as a disgusting weeaboo. I won't be nothing but a loser. I won't be alone anymore. Sorry about that. Got kinda weird. Where were we? Number 8. The audio style. The sound design and score are brilliant. I wish they played the original theme song more. They only played it during the closing credits, but I see no reason not to have it during the opening credits, or in the middle like they did with the original anime. They made a dubstep pop remix of the original theme, which sounds cool until the drop, where it just sounds trashy and annoying. Luckily, this song isn't in the movie. It was only used for trailers and promotion. The music used for the film is all in all really respectful to the spirit of the original. It also has a techno feel to it. A techno edge can either turn out alright in movies, or it can turn out terrible. Classical instruments are usually the better choice, though the techno worked in this. Probably because they didn't go too far. After all, it is background music, and you don't want your movie sounding like a nightclub. The original anime has a break in it at about before the halfway mark, where everything just stops. The music takes over, and we see shots of the city, as well as a scene of Major seeing another cyborg with her body sitting in a cafe. This would have been a good idea in the movie. Maybe not in the middle, but right before the plot starts to gain momentum, or right before the final fight. You could show off the nice score, as well as have those thought-provoking scenes I was talking about earlier. Just short clips that question the nature of this futuristic world, with some nice background beats. This would have been extremely respectful to the original, and it's a pacing choice that wouldn't be commonly seen in movies nowadays. This would be seen as a positive thing, and I think that tomato meter score would go up just from this scene alone. Number 9. Anime adapted movies. I think we can say for certain that this is the second best Hollywood anime adaptation ever made. Edge of Tomorrow is in the number 1 slot, but technically that's based off a manga, so wow. This is the best live-action anime adaptation ever made. That's not saying much. They don't really have the best track record when it comes to these things. Attack on Titan, The Last Airbender, Death Note, Speed Racer, Dragon Ball Evolution, Astro Boy's alright. But those are the ones I've seen, and it's not looking great. Maybe all this will change. Got a live-action Death Note movie on the way. Doesn't look very good, but who knows, might be good. Got a Sword Art Online series in the talks. It's going to be written by Leita Kalogridis, who helped write this one, so we'll see how that turns out. There's also news all over the place about an Akira movie in the works. That production is just everywhere. And an Edge of Tomorrow 2 will also begin production soon. I don't see how they can do a sequel to the first one because he went back in time to before the first one started. I don't know, I guess we'll see how it turns out. It seems like there's a wave of anime adaptations coming to the US, but I think the performance of this movie has kind of stopped that in its tracks. I don't think a revolution's on the way. I think we still have to go through a few crappy ones and then maybe a few alright ones. And then maybe we'll finally get into the good stage. Anime adaptation movies seem like the likely heir to the throne after the superhero bubble pops. But as much as I want people to support things like Ghost in the Shell, I don't really want it to explode in the same way superhero movies have. I know I complained earlier about how the fan base won't be seen as weird once these things become mainstream, but maybe being seen as weird and disgusting because you're the biggest anime fan you know is better than everyone being the biggest anime fan you know. I don't know, I guess I want these things to do well and I want people to love them, but I don't want them to grow stale. And that's how society works now. Things go in trend and out of trend. Cool one month, horrible and unfunny the next month. It's dumb, but that's how it works, and I just don't want this to happen to the stuff that I like. I keep going off track. Ghost in the Shell. Number 10. How to put a ghost in a shell. How to make your perfect Ghost in the Shell movie. Just follow along and listen to my unprofessional opinion and advice. So step 1, have a lower budget. Cut corners where you have to. If you can't afford it, don't have it. I reckon you can take that 110 million down to 80 million. Hire a single writer with a thorough understanding of Ghost in the Shell, not 6. Then translate the script into Japanese and have Mamoru Oshii check it out to make sure it's all good. Keep the cast the same, except for Takeshi Kitano, and hire someone semi-famous but not too expensive to play Aramaki in his place. Give the supporting cast more of a presence and keep the plot simple. Up the comedy just a tiny bit, but make sure you're serious when you should be. There are too many movies that ruin good moments with crappy jokes. Have that dramatic pause of anticipation before all the action scenes. Have a break between the first and second acts with just music playing, where we learn about Major and ask those sweet science fiction questions. Integrate the sci-fi elements into the dialogue. Don't have normal talking and philosophical talking be separate. So, more lines like, "My Major still in there?" Have themes that are in common with the original or are closely related. Don't change them completely. Before posting set photos online, tell everybody that Oshii read the script and is happy with the cast and visual design. Getting his blessing like a month out from release is way too late. Then the picture you post needs to pull the nostalgia strings from the otakus and look interesting to mainstream audiences. Then for the trailers. Have all the imagery from the original, but also don't show too much. Show an abridged version of the opening fight scene, as well as some shots of her on the building and standing in the water and fighting the spider tank, depending on whether or not you cut it from the movie because of all the budget restraints I just put on you. Get anime YouTubers to promote the movie by sponsoring them. Get Crunchyroll and Anime Lab to hype it up. Get the anime community excited and let them do the rest. They'll tell people, who will tell other people, and the movie will promote itself. Then the mainstream will see your sweet trailer. Don't make too many trailers. Save advertising money. And whatever you do, don't put the first 5 minutes online.
I know you guys are going to be seeing the film in its entirety very soon, but until then, please take a look at this 5-minute clip.
You can't tell, but I'm facepalming. Get Scarlett to promote it. Make her watch the anime, read the manga, and watch the best episodes of the standalone complex. So, when she's interviewed, she has nerdy knowledge and people will trust that she knows what she's doing. This is all about connecting with the audience and letting them do the rest. Then you release the movie and it's an elite team spy crime thriller with philosophical elements. Then voila! You pave the way for more anime movies and inevitable sequels for all to enjoy.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter. Ching, ching, bling.
Number 11. Conclusion. This review has given me a new respect for the Ghost in the Shell movie. I hope you have too. Don't jump on the hate bandwagon. Really, if there's anything to learn at the end of this movie, it's everyone is racist. So, thanks for listening to my second and last extended review. This might not actually be my last, but I'm not making any promises. I can't keep up with the schedule. You might see me release like a random edit or like a Batman meme or something every now and then, but this hour-long stuff will be quite rare. I might make short video essays and videos on current movie news and my thoughts on it. I don't know, I asked what you people wanted at the end of my last video, but no one said anything. So I'm lost in this world. I don't know what my place is. Not to worry though, if you need some direction at all, I'm currently working on a movie pitch for Ghost in the Shell. It's basically taking everything that I've said before and I'm just putting it into a story that you can listen to. It's like an audio fanfiction, pretty much. It shouldn't be as long as my other stuff. It'll probably only be like 15 minutes. But you can look forward to that.